You know my love of Canva. I got
Hey,
Canva issues. I got
not,
Canva.
I mean, it covers me too. That's what I'm saying. Like it blends. It's like, oh, what? I like that.
Well, you can set it up in webinar mode that everybody has the actual background. Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I know we're live. We're just talking, doing some
Yeah,
production thing. Briscoe is impressed by my technical skills and putting
I am.
everybody with the same background.
I am.
Zoom lets you do a lot. Zoom lets you do a lot. But
Yes.
hello, everyone out there. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Mike Lead Aspires session today on August 23rd. If you're out there on the YouTube channel, if you have any questions, please let us know. You can use the Q&A in the chat feature as well here. This is Briscoe's second time this year, so we were just coming up with what we were going to talk about. If you want to know his background, his story, definitely go check out the previous Michael Lead Aspires session featuring Mr. Anthony Briscoe. Chicago in the house.
That town represent.
Did you get to the DNC at all? Just quickly, I'm so
I
sorry.
wasn't going near the DNC, first of all. Like, I wasn't going near the DNC. We had a remote week this week, but I went into the office one day because I had to be somewhere. So I went into the office.
Mm.
They requested because we're pretty close to where the DNC was taking place at
Oh yeah,
at
oh
the
yeah.
United Center. But no, I stayed away. I didn't go downtown. I didn't go anywhere. But um, we're in with this is quite an election season. Um,
Yes,
and
yes,
it's
yes, yes.
interesting the atmosphere. But
Mhm.
Kamala was pretty. Vice President Kamala was pretty electrifying last night.
Yeah,
And but
absolutely.
if I
And
had
MVP, Madam Vice President, the MVP
Madam
showed
VP,
up.
Madam VP, and that's where we gonna leave that because we don't talk politics on Mike Aspires, y'all.
um, Says who? I think I'm the CEO. I can talk the way I want to talk, but
that
that's
is that,
okay. That's okay.
that is true. That is absolutely true. But no, I think our country
uh,
in for it's kind of interesting because through you I can't think of her name right now, but met the first CISO under the Obama administration. And so people who've been in very well-rounded spaces. They've seen professionalism up front from black people, from a black president and President Obama. Like if people like you don't have to agree with everybody's politics, but the man is very polished and he loves his family. But the fact that you have connected us in our environment to Miss Vita, look, I forgot her name, and then it just comes right out, right?
yeah,
I mean, the
yeah.
fact that
Well,
you
we
are
had two of them. We had two of them. Miss Renee also served under the Obama
and Miss
administration
Renee,
as well.
so
Yeah.
to know that we've been a part of panels, we've been a part of the um the annual conference, that we've been a part of the Mike conference with these folks who don't just know the business, they know the business behind the business.
Right.
I think it's just
Right.
a really interesting opportunity to acknowledge that the power of not just women, but specifically Black women who are in our circles, like yourself, who have done some not just amazing work, but have also looked back to grab people and bring them forward.
Yes. 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 And that's what we're gonna talk about tonight. Um,
Yes.
and didn't mean to cut you off at all, but we're gonna get into the apprentices, right? Because that's they show up, and we have a lot of them show up. They for these when we're going through the interview process. Of course, the interview process. The applications closed in July. Interviews should be wrapping up next week for everyone. And for those that don't know about the apprenticeship program, we do have Mike Talent Solutions has a registered apprenticeship program where we take cohorts of 50 twice a year. In March and in September, cohort will start here on September the 5th. And Anthony, as wonderful as Anthony is, he is also one of our interviewers in the program. And one of the things that becomes apparent as we now try to look back and lift up, as you pointed out, as we are trying to make sure representation happens for all minority professionals, underrepresented professionals in this space, we got some work to do. And so what the program looks like, and I'll tell you in general what the program looks like. There's no cost to apprentices to enter a program. It's a year-long program. That in that year-long program, there's a lot of technical training, a lot of training that you get access to through your relationship with minorities in cybersecurity and MiC Talent Solutions. You get a mentor, you get a professional in the space that's going to help you. And I will tell you this out loud: if you ask your mentor, if you're in the apprenticeship program out there and you're listening, and the first thing you do is ask your mentor for a job at their corporation, that is grounds for you to be removed from the apprenticeship program, because that's not what they're there for. Your mentors are meant to guide you and help you through your career challenges. But going all the way back, let's start. We've had 250 some odd applicants this year for 100 slots. And oftentimes people select out by this whole, what I mean by that is this no call, no show. So you'll make the meeting and then not show up for the interview. And one of the things that we want to make clear when you are interviewing for a job, right? We do make the investment, the entire MiC community as well, financially, making investments in each individual apprentice to the tune of no less than $3,000 a person. And what happens is, and where we struggle as an organization, because this will be a year. September will be a year. We've been doing this for a year. And where we struggle with is let's start the conversation, Anthony Briscoe, with the whole idea that they're entitled to be in this program. So I want you to share with the audience and the viewers out there, and for everybody, what has been your experience when interviewing young professionals for this opportunity?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say I just appreciate being able not to just volunteer for this, but being allowed to conduct some of these interviews. I think the experience is varied, and I'm going to get very specific today. And so if I offend anybody, you're just going to have to be offended today. I'm sorry. I'll just say this first. I have found women way more prepared than men in these sessions. They are ready to talk about themselves. They are ready to share their backgrounds. They're ready to share their non-technical experience. They are ready to talk about how their non-technical experience in a different field can apply to cybersecurity in some regard. They're just, for the majority of the part, they're coming ready. And I don't speak on these things to do division. I have proven data that backs it up, from the first round of interviews from the first cohort to this one. I find that the men are not ready to talk about themselves. And that becomes very problematic in a job interview, because as a hiring manager, I'll get to your technical skills. I can see all that stuff. I really could care less about them, honestly. I want to know who you are as a person. I want to know what you do. And that's part of the biggest disconnect that I see. But let's just go back to the basic levels for critique of both. When you have presented with an opportunity to apply for any apprenticeship, specifically the MiC Talent apprenticeship, you should view this like you have to interview for a scholarship for college. You should come ready. You should come dressed up. You should come prepared. You should come presentable. You should come with no background noise. You should come with no pets in your background or in your lap. You should come, this one may be a little, just come presentable, but just be ready. Coming in, with a V-neck shirt on. You know, guys, I don't care if you buff or not, like cover yourself up. No, you know, you cover yourself up, man. You know, don't be out here like Kirk Franklin singing worship songs with your clothes all off. You know, like let's just be professional. The other part is to take this serious. If you've taken the time to apply and people have taken the time to make room for you, then you want to ensure that you are coming with your best ability, because I'm just going to tell you, I get to rate who I interview. I get to let Natalie know, hey, this is my rating for this person. Here are my comments. Here's my feedback for them. And so kudos to the folks who show up, I mean, on fire, ready, can answer questions. But we're talking about you've applied for an opportunity within a program. And some of you are showing up like you applied for Microsoft and you don't know who Microsoft is. You applied for the MiC Talent Program. You don't know the CEO's name. You don't know about minorities in cybersecurity. You don't know about the details of the MiC Talent Rap program that you signed up for in the cohort and how long it lasts and what the expectations are for you within the cohort. Now, that's not everybody, but I want to speak to those of you who interviewed who had no clue who Mary Cheney was. And even if you don't know who Mary Cheney is, she's more concerned about you knowing about the organization that she runs than knowing. You cannot know her name and know about minorities in cybersecurity and the work that it does. And so you really have to know at least that. Like, this is not Undercover Boss. I would never get caught on Undercover Boss. My boss,
well, wait a minute.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, if you took the time to apply for the program, you know it takes you to the minorities in cybersecurity website, right? And what I get sometimes are individuals that haven't even watched the YouTube videos that we took time out to describe everything in that program, right? And what we're about and what we're all about. Now, the challenge, of course, is what do you do with someone? Because of course, what we're doing is it's trying to help underrepresented groups get into space. So I have an affinity for it, but rest assured that my brand is intricately tied to both of these organizations. And you want a job in cybersecurity and you don't know how to do research, I don't think this is the right profession for you. Let's talk about that. I mean, because a lot of the jobs, a lot of the things that you're going to have to do, you're going to have to learn on your own, right? And you can't expect anybody to tell you. I know social media got y'all thinking that you can just scroll through and click on it and find a job or find what you're looking for without digging in. This profession is all about digging in. You want to become a student. If you want to be good at anything, you have to be a student for the rest of your life.
Absolutely.
Right?
It never.
You still learning. I'm still learning.
Yes. I'm back in college at Northern Illinois University already. I've already started. And so it's you have to be a constant learner and a consistent learner with that constancy. But the other part that's really important is to be prepared. Research is utterly important. You know, I started a new job this year. When I walked in for my final interview, that was 5 hours long, I had a portfolio with me when I walked in. I had a dossier on everybody I was interviewing with, including their pictures. And so when one of the people saw it, was like, hey, what's that? I'm like, oh, you're the infrastructure manager. So, I just wanted to make sure I read your profile. I checked out. I had their LinkedIn bios printed out. I had the university bios printed out. That was for everybody I was meeting with, from the assistant vice chancellor to the assistant CIO. Like, I had everybody's dossier printed out with me. Now, I didn't have questions that I wanted to ask them on there because that may have been a little bit too much and I want to keep eye contact, but I did research and compiled. I printed it out. I studied their profiles so I would have to look down and ask them. I studied their profiles. I came ready and prepared. And at the end of the day, that's all that is required, that you study and that you come prepared. So when you're asking certain questions, and if you read, that's the other piece. People didn't read my email. I made a nice Google Sheet form. My email specifically said, I am not here to answer questions about this program. I am here to interview you for the program that you applied for. If you have any other questions, you can refer those over to Miss Natalie, not to me. I got an email afterwards when I expect to hear from somebody. I told you. And I try to flow in mercy. I try to flow in mercy. Somebody from the previous cohort had lost their information and was asking me questions. I said, if you lost your information, it would behoove you to reach out to the contact people to find out that information from them. That's another thing. When you get accepted into a cohort, you cannot drop the ball. There's more acceptance and appreciation for you if you call Miss Natalie. Notice I keep saying Natalie's name for a reason, because some of y'all calling and emailing the wrong person. Y'all talk. Look, do y'all know what a CEO does? A CEO runs a business, and they have people in place to answer those questions. This would be like me bypassing my boss to go talk to his boss. You don't do that. Talk to the people who they put in place. If you're wasting time, call. So I'm just gonna be 100% honest with y'all. If y'all bypass Natalie and go straight to Miss Mary, it's not gonna be good for you. And it's not that she's rude. It's not that she's inconsiderate. I want you to think about, she is the one who has to put sponsors to the table. So imagine the kind of calls that she's in. Miss Mary is also an attorney and a consultant. So she's got other responsibilities as well. And so when you get that contact information, the person you need to build your relationship with is the people on the team that she has assigned for you to work with and to speak with if you have any questions. When you don't do those things and when you bypass those basic tenets and protocols, it's sending a message that you're not ready for this. Because the biggest part in cybersecurity and any other field is being able to listen to the instructions that you were given. So if you're told to study Python and you study in Ruby, and when you got to run that query, oh, well, I've been studying Ruby. I told you to study Python. I did not tell you to study Ruby. I didn't tell you to study Java. I didn't tell you to study C# or C++. I told you to study Python. Why are you doing Ruby? Those basic things can literally land you in the wrong place. And if we're talking about this
fired, it can land you fired.
During the time of a breach, this is not time for you to showboat. It's time for you to be able to listen and pay attention. I was in a separate cohort in a separate program, and the guy who was teaching us was excited about his mentee. Man got a job, 90,000 out the gate, Mary. 90,000 out the gate. Within 4 weeks, send a spreadsheet out with everybody's data on it in an email. Fired instantly. Instantly. No questions, no long conversations. HR needs to see you. And he's like, what happened? He was like, he said, but I've taught you better than this.
But wait a minute, hold on. Let's back up in the similar sentence. Everybody that comes in contact with me has to sign a non-disclosure agreement. You know that. Everybody. One of the things that happened in the first cohort is after signing the NDA, I send out a link to the Google Drive that has resources in it. Someone forwarded to their brother that's not in the program at all. And it was like the first, and that's honestly what I go through in the very first session. The first tenet of cybersecurity is to protect data. So if you can't understand at $90,000 a year, and I've mentored you and coached you, that's the basics that we go over in this program. You have to think about what you're doing. So now you don't have a job. You went from 4 weeks. It took you 4 weeks, right? You didn't even really have a second paycheck yet. I mean, really, that is
90,000
that
out the
is
gate, gone like that for your first cybersecurity job, right? And so it's about paying attention to detail. The other side to that he explained to us, he said, you all need to understand the cybersecurity community is very small. If you get fired over something because of your negligence, they're going to want to know why you got fired, and you may not get that opportunity again. Now, one, I don't think that's right, but we're not talking about what's right. We're not talking about what's fair. We're talking about risk management. And you could be labeled a risk based on not following the basic details and tenets of the CIA triad. That's it.
It's
It's
called
not really
insider threat, people. It's called insider threat. When you're just giving
insider.
away information that belongs to your organization or belongs to the company or even belongs to Miss Mary. Now, as Mr. Briscoe pointed out, I'm an attorney, right? So everything we do is purposeful, and everything that we put together is purposeful. The people we accept, it's on purpose. So it becomes a now you're gonna take one thing and decide you're going to send it to a whole bunch of people outside the program, that is cause to getting fired, as Anthony's pointing out.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're
The
in education, Anthony, and you just started your new job. What do you think is missing with education of minority students, that or is it even that you don't understand this sentiment that you can't just go give company secrets? You just that's not day one. That's not what you do.
Yeah, I think part of what's missing is on a university level. I don't Universities are spending time, they're teaching, but they're not educating necessarily. Meaning you've got career development, colleges have career development and all those things and all those opportunities. One of the things I love about being at a university now is that I see people who have master's degrees who are struggling to find employment, people who are fresh graduating, but they have me as a resource. So I give them, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to go down. Because you got your master's degree, you think you've lived the American dream and that America's going to give it back to you. That's not how the real world works. So when I say go on LinkedIn, change that picture, update your profile, go on social media, I'm telling you, I try to tell the people who are applying, I'm like, look, I saw your Facebook page, your breast all out. I'm just gonna keep it 100. I'm not telling you to change anything you don't want to change, but I want you to have an understanding that you are representing a brand wherever you go. The problem is people think that they're representing the brand of the company. No, you're representing the brand of you first. Like, I'm heavy into social media. I got a show that I do on Monday nights. I understand that there's possibly something I'm going to say that's going to offend somebody one day, and they're going to take that clip and they're going to send it to my job and say, hey, this is what your employee said. What do you think about this? Like, I wear that risk every time I'm on the air. That's why I say until my pocketbook get bigger than my opinion, I don't really have that much to say to people. Now the day the pocketbook is talking millions and somebody want to get offended, we cool because I'm good. But until then, I taper myself. But I want you to think about the impression. I still see pictures with people with their middle fingers in the air on social media. So, and I've been a hiring manager in this situation. I check out profiles. And so when I go to your Facebook page or I go to your Instagram page and you got a middle finger up in the air, you telling me F me as far as I'm concerned. And if you'll do a middle finger on social media and not think twice about it, well, what if one of our clients makes you mad? Are you going to flip them off too? I'm not talking about what's right. I'm not talking about what's fair. I'm talking about what is. Those are the things that are super important. And those are the things that I work to educate our young people on, especially those who are new college grads and those who are going into school. I got a college
And
girl. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, a colleague shared a story of an apprentice in the healthcare field that
Mm.
went on Facebook Live when they were treating a patient. Okay, so if you don't know, there are laws out there called HIPAA. There's privacy stuff out there. You know, and the person was in a dire state, right? In their pajamas, so to speak, and you're live on Facebook while you're treating a patient. You're fired immediately. Immediately. You again, I don't understand this. Social media is not paying your bills unless you are an influencer that's getting some sponsorship. What do you need to say, show everything that you're doing for, right?
Yeah.
You can have an opinion, you can be a quote unquote influencer, which I don't necessarily care for that word, but because what are you influencing? You know, you're influencing people's thoughts, right? But the thing is, you don't understand that there's a difference between your public persona and your private persona, right?
They
And
over
now you're in a professional capacity. You go on Facebook Live and you at your job and you work in the SOC, and behind you is secret information, and now it's all on social media. You're fired. Nobody you don't need to put your $90,000 a year job in jeopardy out the gate by doing
so
something that silly and non-professional. Go ahead.
I'm literally on the phone with a camera vendor on a Zoom. I write down his IP address, I write down his username and his password. And I called his boss and I said, "Hey, tell your people when they're having Zoom meetings, they should not be behind their whiteboard unless it's empty." This is the information that I pulled off of there. Now, I'm not a hacker. I can't do anything with that information. But I guarantee
No,
there's someone out there.
you are a hacker. You just won't do anything with that information. How about that?
I will not. But it's like, imagine talking to somebody else who just called you for a random client meeting and you're in this Zoom and your username to your server, your IP address, all that stuff is right behind you. And you're just talking away because you think you're about to land a client. And my man, you can't even see the hood on him or his dark glasses because he's in a suit and he's just taking notes. You just gave him social engineering 101, how to crack into your system. You just gave him everything he's doing for reconnaissance, just right there. And
Mhm.
so it's being aware of your surroundings all the time. But you as a person, when you're applying for positions, when you're applying for opportunities, present your best self at all times and come ready. I'm going to tell you
Mhm.
something never to say to a person who's interviewing you. Can you just ask me technical questions? Because I don't like to talk about myself. My heart dropped when I heard it. I was just like, are we serious? I said, this is not the real world. People are going to want to know who
Mhm.
you are as a person. Like, and
And
people
once
can
you
tell
get the interview, once you get the interview, you need to understand they're judging you not just on technical, whether you fit the culture. So it's a personality contest, really. It's whether or not they can see you in this role, similar to what we saw last night. Everybody's worried about whether or not Kamala comes off as presidential. She looked pretty damn presidential last night to me, but that's what you're being judged on, whether or not. So you know the IP address and all that, and you just want to talk technical questions. No, we can't just ask you technical questions. I need to understand who you are as a person. If I'm going to put my brand behind you and send you out there to one of our employer partners, right? I have to
oh, yeah,
know who you are.
absolutely,
Go ahead.
absolutely. And the technical piece is it's really, well, I'm not going to say, because in cybersecurity, the technical piece can get real. If you're in a technical interview for a SOC, like it's going to get real. You know, the program will train you on, hey, there's plenty of things out there, the 100 top SOC questions, SOC analyst questions, like those things you can be trained to develop on. My very first IT job as a consultant, the guy looked at me and he was like, you really don't have any technical skills. You don't have any certifications. I didn't even know what a certification was, first of all. So I'd worked, from a help desk, changing toner, putting memory in computers. I don't know what a certification is. And he was like, I said, well, thank you for your time. He's like, no, 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 no. You have personality. I can always teach you to be technical. I like you. I went from making $26,000 to $42,000 overnight, just like that. My first consulting job. Why? Because of personality, and that's why I share with Miss Mary. I'm shifting my focus really straight towards management, straight towards leadership. I'll never forget the cyber stuff I learned because it's going to always be a part of me. But I'm leaning more into my strengths, and that's one thing I tried to break away that the MiC Lead Communicators course taught me. It's like, no, I got to lean back into that. This is Tony Briscoe live in person. I lead and I freaking lead well, and I build some dynamic freaking teams. That's what I do. So I'm learning to own my space. I'm learning to own my space. And that's what you have to be able to do in an interview. Own your space. The job I landed, I had to meet with the gentleman who's running what's called UIC's Acer network. That's their entire cyber backbone of, for data cloud stuff. And it's all public information, so I'm not sharing any secrets. And when I met with him after I got hired, he said, the number one reason I hired you is because I told them to hire you is because I asked you a question and you were the only one who didn't try to beat around the bush and give me fluff. If I don't know it, I don't know it. And if I'm in an interview and I think you're wrong, I'm gonna tell you you're wrong. I'll do it in a respectful way. I'm not gonna be like, no, you're wrong. I'm not talking about like that. But I had to tell him, if you get asked the question, I'm gonna ask Mary. Mary, you're in an interview. Hey, Mary, I need you to make sure that our organization can never be breached. You've got to make that possible.
You've already been breached. I can guarantee you've already been breached. So let's not do the impossible, because that is impossible. There is no such thing as 100% security. Absolutely not. Cybersecurity is a risk management function. We reduce risk, period.
I don't understand why other people danced around that question, but I wasn't dancing around that question. It's one answer. It's exactly what Mary don't try to get people know, okay, nope, not the one. Just on one question by one person can change your whole trajectory in a job interview. Can change your entire trajectory. I just talked to a friend who came out of an interview with a CEO, and she was just like, this dude hates my gut. She got a job offer the next day, and she was like, the CEO absolutely loved you. He had a poker face, though. He didn't show I like you. He had a poker face on. You answered questions just the way he felt like they should be answered. And she couldn't read them, so she's just like, this dude hates my guts. No, it's about you just simply being prepared.
That's what you being you. And don't feel like you have to be something that you're not. Sometimes they will test you. Sometimes those questions are meant to test you, right? And
Yes.
and they ask you hard questions, and they already know the answer to the question, but they're seeing whether or not necessarily if you know the answer, but if you are going to be honest. Character matters in cybersecurity. I don't know if anybody ever told you that. Character and integrity are foundational principles of this profession. If you don't have any, you will get found out.
Mm. That is, yeah, there's no better way to say what you just said. Character is highly important in cybersecurity. But in essence, character is important in life. And you have to have it. And you have to walk in it. I really need you all to find my first session that I did because there were so many nuggets in that session. But I talk about the word purpose. So it's an acronym for plan, utilize, rise, persevere, own, strive, and enjoy. So as you are MiC aspirers looking to get into cybersecurity, plan. Part of the planning is when you apply to the apprenticeship program, because you can give great answers in an interview just because you want the slot. I have more respect for you if you get into the program, and that if you're not able to complete the program and it's not a good time for you, that you pull out. That you say, you know what? I appreciate this opportunity. Between the time I applied and now, my life took a curveball. I'm taking a different direction. I would love to apply for it in the future if that's possible. It's absolutely 100% possible. And so when I ask the question, hey, you know what this commitment is for this cohort? Yeah, it's 12 weeks, right? It's once
You
a
didn't
month on
watch any
Saturdays.
video.
It's once a
You
month on
didn't watch
Saturdays.
any
Yeah,
videos.
I'm just telling y'all what I've been told. It's once a month on Saturdays, right? Oh man. Okay. So when I talk about planning, ensure it is, you don't want to take up a slot that you're not ready to take on. Now we get life never gonna stop happening. It's just not. Right? It happened during the MiC Lead Communicators course. We had someone who, whether I believe she needed to leave or not was not relevant, but she decided this is the best thing for me to do right now. And she stepped away, but she communicated the whole process, and she even let all of us try to talk her into sticking around. But she communicated, this is where I got to go, because of her work was just becoming too much. It was inundating her. But planning is also preparation. That means I'm talking to my family. I'm talking to my spouse. I'm talking to my friends. Y'all gonna miss me for about 365 days. You have to have, the poetry scene has missed Tony Briscoe for probably 3 years. Period. And I love writing, but I'm on some other things. Poetry's not paying my bills.
But you did a great poem at the conference. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
Well, you
distract you.
gotta let it do what it do, you gotta let it do what it do. But I'm saying, y'all, just, you have to prepare. When you're doing something like this, you have to do what you call enroll. Enroll people in your family and in your life in the possibility of what you're getting ready to create for your future. That means you're not going to be able to club a lot. You're not going to be able to go kick it when you want to. You may not make it to some barbecue. I'm telling you, you're going to miss a whole lot. As a matter of fact, the first conference, me and Kels were in a different cohort together. So after the MiC conference that night, we went straight back up to our room and hopped on that class, because we're committed to, when we say we want to be a part of something, we're going to do it. I had to enroll my wife in that possibility, and my daughter, who was in high school at the time, in that possibility. Not that you're trying to bring people into your business. You want them to have an understanding of, this is what I'm doing. I need everybody on board. Hey, husband, I know you usually cook on Mondays and Wednesdays. For the next 365, I may need you to cook on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'll do Sunday still as part of this arrangement. Or it could be wife, whatever the case may be. But I'm just saying, like, that's real though. Hey, I'm gonna need you to pick the kids up, because on Saturday I can't take them or drop them off. I got my MiC session on this Saturday. So on once a month, this is I'm in this cohort. I've got to do this. I'm gonna need you to handle the kids. Hey, mom, dad, cousin, auntie, brother, sister, you got to enroll people in what you're trying to establish and create for yourself. That's part of your planning for this cohort. It's not going to be easy. It's not. If you think this is a cakewalk, it will not be easy. And before you start asking questions inside of the communication on Slack or Discord, before you start even asking questions in there about a homework assignment, don't just come in with a question. Tell people, hey, I'm on this module. I'm in this plan. this is what I've done, and I keep getting this error message. Can somebody help me out? You're going to get a different response as opposed to, hey, I'm on problem 1. What y'all getting? No, that is inadequate, insufficient, and it's not enough information. And you will start ticking off the people who are also in your cohort. All I'm saying is, if you have a problem, list the steps that you've done to save everybody else who's about to stop what they're doing to help you out. So telling them you stuck on a certain problem doesn't mean anything. Telling them you stuck on problem 1, well, what module are you in? Are you in module 1 or are you in module 5? Like, this is the detail that goes into cybersecurity, fam. If your boss tells you you running some code in Python, trying to break down some SQL logs or some Splunk logs, and you're doing these things, you got to know how to write those queries the right way. So if you do get an error message, hey, I ran this query in Splunk and it's not working. Okay, well, are you getting an error? Yeah. Okay, what's the error? 19. Okay, what does it say after the error in line 19? Oh, I've got an incorrect parameter or string. Okay, what string or parameter? Nobody wants to have to walk you through that stuff. We're talking about cyber security. When you get that job in that SOC center, you got to be on your game, because there's 1,000 other hackers out there who are trying to do who you're going to do exactly what they want you to do. Be incompetent. I'm not talking about being nervous on the job. I'm not talking about being new on the job, because there are going to be people there to guide you along the way. What they want to see is different from working on a help desk than being in a SOC system. On a help desk, I can be right there with you on that call, walking you through it. And a SOC center, when they put you in that SOC center, now as an intern, it's different. Part of the apprenticeship program, when you get that, it's different. There are things set up for you. But when you go from apprentice to, Mary, thank you so much for this. I got this apprenticeship, and now it's 2 years later. I'm ready to move on. I got this gig. When you move from MiC talent over to the big position, you're going to have to apply everything they gave you, because they're like, oh, you had a 2-year internship, you had a 2-year apprenticeship. Oh, we're going to bring you over here. So if they're going to drop you 150 out the door, because when you're messing around with Miss Mary, 90,000 ain't going to be enough for her when she get through with you. She's going to be like, no, you need to be making 150, 160,000 out the gate in a SOC analyst. I'm just telling y'all, be ready for that. But in order to be ready for that, you got to be ready to put in the work that she needs you to put in. So when you get that job in that SOC center, you're the first person up for promotion. Look, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to talk about the mentoring part right now, because I've had 2 mentees so far. Both of them have been great. The mentee that I had last year, her struggles were on her job. I said, I don't care about your struggle. You keep doing what you're doing. That's all you got to do. You putting in the work, you making the right connections. If it manifests itself, if it don't manifest itself here, it'll manifest itself somewhere else. Just be ready to make that leap when it's time. My mentee this year, I already told her, Mary, we're not talking about cybersecurity no more. I don't think I've met a person quite like her who is ready every time we engage. She has such a personality for customer service. She has such a heart of service. And so I said, we're not talking about cybersecurity anymore. We're going to deal with your life and how this has to match this. That's it. But they both come ready. Last year, let me tell y'all how dedicated my sister was last year. Her sister is in a very bad medical condition. So while she had to take her sister to the hospital, and she's sitting up with me while her sister's being taken care of, she said, no, I committed to this time slot. I brought my laptop to the hospital with me. I'm going to be okay. Let's go. Now, she could have easily said, now I'm not saying, but she could have easily said, hey, I got my sister. I can't do this. She said, no, I got my sister and I'm ready to do this. Then when her sister got there, I said, well, she want to be on camera because I pray for her right now too. And that's exactly what I did. But I'm just talking about the heart and dedication that when you commit to something, that you see it through. And so when you have a mentor who's been assigned to you, right now, my mentor got a lot of grace because I had a meeting conflict last night and I didn't, it's on Tuesday night and I didn't tell her. She was like, hey, bro, we still meeting. I'm like, oh, I'm going to get it. But we've had to play, we played phone tag before, but I'm just saying, like, when you're that committed to make yourself available, and when somebody's there to make themselves available for you, I've never been to a session with any of my mentees and they didn't do their pre-work. I've never
Okay,
been to
can
a
I
session.
jump in here?
Oh,
I'm
please,
sorry.
please.
No, I was going to jump in here just to say technology works. Um, so I didn't get the meeting invite. I didn't get the email. I didn't. That doesn't cut it. Whether the advice I would give you all is if your email is that busy, email is free. Just establish another email account that you pay attention to every day, because you know that's a pet peeve of mine. That the whole no call, no show. I mean, you brought it out in this the situation that you had last night, right? And the mentor mentee relationship is a relationship, and it's something that you have to, as the mentee, cherish and deepen. Everybody that's a mentor for minorities in cybersecurity is a professional. What that means is they got a real job. Their job is not to coddle you. Their job is not to be there 24/7. If you cancel a meeting one day, you can't expect them to be there for you the next day. That's not what that happens. A mentor, the definition of a mentor is not your babysitter. You have to treat them with the respect that they deserve, their time, and establish that relationship. Briscoe said his mentee has his phone number. So that's just a text message. My bad. Boom, boom, boom. I'm not going to be able to make it. Right. And that's fine. But that's a relationship that you have to nurture. What I'm seeing in some the current cohort is, oh, well, my mentor seems to be busy. And it's like, well, yeah. So what have you done to encourage and deepen that relationship? And no, we're just not going to switch your mentor just because you asked us to. You need to go ahead and talk to your mentor like a human being, like a person, and actually say, okay, I'm getting the sense that you're not able or you're not capable to continue to meet with me. Should I ask for another mentor? That the hard conversations, having those hard conversations, that's part of growing up, and that's part of being a professional as well.
Absolutely right. And I think those conversations need to be had because we do have busy lives. We are working, we got families. Most of us are in a class, believe it or not. I don't care if it's an AI class. Most of us are doing something along the side outside of our regular work, right? Or our families. And so, one thing about, MiC is that we hold people to the fire. We hold ourselves to the same fire. Like there's no, I told Ms. Mary, I was sitting down in my zone in my office and I was just like, man, why is something poking me? And I was like, oh, it's August 23rd. I switched up with somebody on the 9th. I was like, let me prepare myself for this. But it's like when people show up for you, you want to make sure you show up for them. And when people don't show up for you and there was an expectation that they show up, assume good intentions because some people just forget. Some people have overbooked their calendars, and I got a work calendar and a personal calendar and two other email calendars. So I gotta I gotta really synchronize. But it's like Miss Mary, I said, you know what? All my appointments are going on this one calendar, so I don't get confused.
Well, and then back it out, right? And understanding things happen, right? We lost Dawana, and we lost Dawana like very, very, very unexpectedly. I talked to her on a Tuesday. She was gone on a Friday. And that next week, I had people in the apprenticeship program emailing me about the fact that their mentor didn't show up for a meeting. And I said, do you read the room? Read the room, right? Understand that you don't know what's going on in somebody's life. How about we show everybody a little grace and understand, and before you decide to throw somebody under the bus, they may be going through some stuff. I mean, I lit into one of them because not only was I dealing with the grief of
Yeah.
my sister passing, but he missed the meeting. He missed one of the builders sessions and put a meeting on my calendar after he received an answer. He received an answer from Natalie on what that meant, him missing that court. It was just one, it wasn't a big deal, but put a meeting on my calendar to talk about you doing something. You missed the class. It wasn't an emergency. You overslept. It was just something that you just, and you want to talk to me about what that means for you. 2 days after I lose my sister, read the room. I'm gonna need
Read the
y'all to read the room. I'm gonna need you to understand that's not appropriate. That it's understand that other people, like you said, we have lives, and all of you guys want to come to me, and I try, but there are times where I'm like, I can't deal with this right now. I'm trying to find you a job. Every time you send the CEO an email, that's a minute, 2, 5, 10 taken away from me trying to find you an opportunity. Right. And so we have this infrastructure. We're going to get better. I promise. I'm making some moves now. I have to stabilize some stuff. We're getting better. But at the end of the day, understand that again, you're dealing with another human being. Just because you're not working doesn't mean that they're not working.
Yeah, it's so true. And I try not to get personal, but when I'm interviewing people, if I ask about your life with children, obligations for parents, I'm asking those questions not to get into your personal business. I'm asking those questions because I want you to really understand the scope of your responsibility outside and then match that with the responsibility you're going to have in the cohort. Those are the reason I ask those questions. What kind of support system do you have is a legitimate question. Now, that may not be a question for a job interview, but for an apprenticeship program, it's a bit different because I want to ensure that you've considered everything that can be a distraction for your success within the program. And that's not something that I mark or count against anybody in my interviews. It's something I bring up because I want you to be able to fully plan properly and weigh the commitment that you're about to step into.
Yes, because if you sign it up for the apprenticeship program, then you sign up for the builders program. The builders program is 10 sessions every other Saturday. You miss two of those builder sessions, you're out, not only of the builders program, but the apprenticeship program. So that's a valid question to ask in regards to, are you really considering all the things you have going on? Because we don't want you to take a slot from somebody else. I want everybody on this that applies for our program to be successful. I want to try to find everybody jobs, right? But life happens to everybody, right? And unfortunately, you will have to be, even as working as a full-time employee. What happened to that light? What happened? Even if you're a full-time employee, you have things that happen in your life, and you can't, mail it in. I personally, my father was passing away, and I was dealing with drama in a work environment, and trying to manage all of that.
Here,
It
yes.
just it's just life, right? And so the resiliency that you guys need and to understand is that you're not the only one, and you haven't been the only one. You can give me a heads up, you can give anybody a heads up, but the requirements are what the requirements are.
Yeah. And again, like we understand that life is just going to be life, and life in 2024 has been life and for real for a lot of people. that I know. It's been very challenging. But I say that to say the same grace that you want when you can't make a meeting, give that same grace to your mentees. Give that same grace to your instructors as well, because life happens. People have travel plans. If Mary gets a call like, hey, look, we need you to fly to such and such. It's on contract. I need you to be there for 3 days. We got $30,000, hotel, flight, all that stuff is paid for. Mary gonna be like, yo, I got an assignment. I gotta roll out. Team, take over, handle the business. Well, where's Miss Mary today? Don't ask where Miss Mary is. Show up for the assignment. Now I know how it is sometimes when y'all just want to see Mary, Mary, Mary. I want you to understand what it's like to have no arms. Mary has arms and feet. She has arms and feet. That's us, right? Mary can't interview 172 people. She can't do that, right? Mary can meet with 172 executives who want to be a part of the program as sponsors, but she can't meet with 172 people to interview. That's where we come in, right? That's why she's building out that's the team for Mike. That's why she's building out all of these other aspects of the organization that it can function better, be more responsive to you. But I'm going to tell you, I had 2 people who didn't even respond to my email at all. Like, at all. It was 3 at first, but 1 person responded, and she reached out like, yo, I missed your message. Is it any way? Of course, I'm going to make room for you. Right? They were like, hey, if they missed the message, that's on them. But Mike is not about being that strict and that stringent. Now, that's Tony Briscoe. That ain't Miss Mary. I made the call, right? But we tell you, you're applying for an apprenticeship, and I know Mary said it 1,000 times. Make sure you check your spam, because if you don't know me, you may not get an email from me. Your email provider's like, hey, this is an unknown email. You never like AIs are like taking over everything. So AI is literally telling you now you don't get emails from this person. So it'll throw it in your spam box. It's your responsibility. In other words, when you're applying for these scholarships, you cannot afford not to know what's happening in your inbox.
It's a scholarship. It's a job. I mean, listen.
All that.
All the things. If you apply for a job and they looking for you, you can't just say, I missed the email. Come on now.
So I hope these words have encouraged you all. If you're new, I'm on LinkedIn under Anthony Briscoe. Feel free to connect with me and contact me. I mentor and talk to people all the time. I've got an appointment at 6 p.m. tonight. So I've got to go put another hour in on the clock, but I've got an appointment at 6 o'clock because I'm always, when I say finding my place and my space, I am loving it because I get to just be fully authentically myself and do what I do best in helping, inspiring, and encouraging people. Mary, I know it's almost 5 o'clock. Boy, your brother spoke at South Suburban College here in Illinois on the South Side last week. I did an introduction to AI for their adjunct faculty. They want me to come back in January to speak to their full-time.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about how much that is a little later. We ain't gonna do that in front of the kids. We'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah, you know prophets ain't dropping that kind of cake already, but it's all good. It's all good. But all I'm saying, you all, is again, without the MiC Communicators course for me to boost up that confidence, to boost up the amount of writing that I have to do now to really articulate myself, like these are all the things that I learned through the MiC Communicators course. And so the blessings are there. The only thing wrong with blessings is when you don't plan and put yourself in the position to receive them.
Yeah. Right. Always dropping knowledge, brother. Always dropping knowledge. I always love it. Thank you so much for being all that you are. And thank you guys out there. We don't have time for questions, but thank you for this because we're gonna put this right on the we're gonna put this right on we'll put this right in there with the apprentice listing so they can get an earful for the next cohort. But we appreciate your time.
you.
as always, and you continue the great success that you're having in your career. I'm watching and
Yeah.
continue to thank you again for being the interviewer as well. Thank you for helping. All right,
Absolutely.
folks, this is it. Enjoy your Friday. We will see you guys after the holiday. Enjoy your end of summer Labor Day celebrations next week. If you are around, we're having our 5-year anniversary celebration with minorities in cybersecurity next Friday between
The
4 and 7. We'll
Moscato.
just be,
Yes.
you know what, Lemon Moscato. I thought about that today too. Okay, it's an inside joke.
Inside joke. I'll take care.
But it's been great. Have a good one. Bye bye.